Welcome to another episode of Working Title with Keisean Reigns. That's me, and this is my podcast. Today's episode is really special because it features one of my favorite people. And of course, every guest that I have is an amazing person, and I am super grateful and super blessed to just know so many dope ass people. And I know that says a lot about who I am and what I stand for and what I represent, that I continue to be connected to and attract so many amazing, creative, loving, blessed, abundant, funny, intelligent human beings. And today's guest is one of those people that I've actually had the privilege of being connected to for as long as I can remember, because she's my cousin. And I have known her to be one of the most talented vocalists, singer-songwriters that I've ever known in my entire life. She has offered her gift to our family at family gatherings, kickbacks, parties, barbecues, and more recently, she offered her voice in song and tribute to my grandmother, who passed at the end of last year. And when I tell you that this woman, this human being, has a voice that has been gifted to her with angelic power behind it, she has the ability to bring your heart joy and also bring your heart to tears, depending on what she's singing about. And she has had a journey and a half, starting off at 16, 17 years old in spaces with some very well-known R&B and pop singers. And recently, one of the people that she recorded with back in the day kind of made a little bit of a comeback. And it's just the timing of everything is just so wonderful, how things happen, that her life has really come full circle. And I feel so blessed to know her and to have the privilege of being a compassionate witness to her journey as it continues. Her journey is unique. Her journey is beautiful. Her journey is that of a true artist who is committed to her craft. And I'm just grateful to be able to give you a little taste of the kind of things that we talk about when we get together. So I invite you to get comfortable, take a couple of long, deep, cleansing breaths, and get ready to listen to another conversation, this time featuring the one and only Aerin.
Hello there. How are you?
Girl. I'm doing good, cuz. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm so excited. You are in the what I call the VIP category of guests because, for one, because you're family.
That's
and right. You are actually, you're the second guest that I've had on this family. Karma was on with me a couple weeks ago.
I just saw that.
Did you see that one?
Check that out.
Okay, yeah, she was on that one. That was like a special occasion, know. But yeah, so I have a couple questions for you, and we're gonna dive into some questions. So the first question I have for you is related to your passion of music.
Okay.
How do you pour into or dedicate time and energy and effort into your passion? What does that look like for you?
What I do is every week I make it a point to dedicate a little bit of time, whether it's, when the house settles down, because I have a daughter, she's 11. So when she's kind of winding down, I might take a little time to myself, put the headphones on, try and just vibe to, I have all these tracks saved on YouTube or some of my producer friends, and just try and sit and come up with ideas, and just I sometimes have to force myself into it. literally make the time, because I don't like for a week to go by without me dedicating a little bit of my time to my music, because life gets in the way, as we know. You know, it's always something, right? So it's like, over the years, I've made it a point to dive in, whether it would be schedule a session with somebody, or I have a lot of producers that I work with, so I have tracks kind of like on hand, and just, you know, I just try and spend a little time on writing, a little time on recording. My best friend has a studio in her place, so it's really about making the time for your passion, because the more you do it, the better you are. I've been doing it for now 18 years, writing and recording. So, I mean, I'm a master at my craft. I gotta say that, but I still have much to learn. So, you know, just always being a student, always trying to get the creative energy and creative juices flowing. And I just make the time. You know, my daughter is older now, so it's easier on me to actually, you know, lock myself in a room and you know, and dedicate some time to it, or go out to the studio and record something and create. I also, you know, I haven't done it lately, but used to go to a lot of open mics, and, you know, just to be around it.
Okay, cool. So for those who don't know, what type of artist are you? Like, what do you do in music?
I would be considered an R&B artist.
Okay.
The music that I'm on now, because, you know, as artists, it changes. So throughout the years, I started off a long time ago just doing, you know, what everyone knows of art is R&B. So at the time I was young, I was out in New York, and then I was able to get on a song with Life Jennings called Hypothetically. And that was on his first album. I think it was his Prison number, but it was Life Jennings' first album. Anyways, that's my kind of like claim to fame song. And, you know, since then, so that all went well. A little bit of politicking going on in that, you know, some regular industry stuff went down. But, you know, it's all good. You know, I've had so many wins and I've had a lot of L's, but it's all G. But since then, my music has changed. It's changed a lot. It's went through different phases. Of course, with the times, you start, you know, sounding like Rihanna. Then you start going, damn it, I sound like Rihanna. I don't like that. I want to try something. You know, so now I've evolved into a place where the music is like kind of mystical. And it's like an ode to Sade with the same familiar like R&B kind of drums. So it's really, really open. It's some of them are similar to like a Drake beat, but then I have these very open melodies where it's not about rap singing, which I'm tired of. It's more about really actually using my voice and
I like that.
my voice. Yeah, you know,
I like singers who actually sing. What a concept, you know what I mean?
Isn't that wonderful? It's nice when you hear that.
It really is. And I like that you touched on the fact that as an artist that you have gone through different phases of evolution as far as your music is concerned, from, you know, 18 years ago, you know, to present day, where you as an artist start to recognize, am I starting to sound like XYZ because that is the sound that is selling, or am I staying true to my own unique voice and my own unique style, regardless of whether or not it's quote unquote popular or pop music right now, you know?
Exactly. And I think that's when, as an artist, you begin to find your magic. And that's with any art. It's when you go against the grain and you do something that feels good to you and that's true to you, and you know you're going to not please everyone with it. But that's totally okay with me, because I've been trying to please people with my music for years. And then people say that they want this, and then I give them that. And then they go, oh, you know what? Actually, now this is what's hot. You know, I started as an artist and then went through some trials and tribulations with that, as everyone does. But then I started diving more into my pen and writing for other artists. And then that was quite frustrating. You know, it was a tough thing. That's a tough game because, you know, you're dealing with labels and what they think they want, and they really don't know what they want until somebody else validates it, or they get someone else that's popular to get on the song. So, you know, I went through a lot of writing for Sierra. I went through writing for Ashanti. I wrote for a lot of people. I've done a lot of movies, and I spent a lot of years in the not really focusing on my artistry and more so focusing on writing for others. And, you know, it isn't until the recent the last couple years that I decided, you know what, I need to get back to my own music, the music that's authentic to me, and stop worrying about, you know, what's on the roster to shop songs to, because it's really a tough thing, you know. And I just found myself all over the place trying to keep up with the times, and you know, it's fine, but eventually I just got to this place where I'm like, Aerin, you just need to make the music that you want to make and with who you want to make it with, and you don't need to be hearing about what they want, you know.
Right. No, and that makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting because just last night, actually, I was at a friend's house who is a singer-songwriter as well. She's a guitarist, singer-songwriter. And we had a very similar conversation about how, you know, when she was writing for other artists, like you said, selling songs and doing that kind of thing, that there was, you know, benefit to that because, you know, you get bills paid or you get a writer's credit or whatever. But eventually you get to the point where you're like, I want to write songs for me. I want to create for me. I want my voice to be heard. I want my style to be seen. And, she actually is in the process of starting a creative, you know, collective of sorts of a bunch of different independent artists. It's a growing group, I should say, of artists of varying kinds, from hip hop to R&B to soul to alternative to everything in between. And what's really beautiful, I think, that's happening for creatives in general is that we are starting to recognize that the time that we live in today is much different than it was in the 90s, where the only way that you could record is if you went to a XYZ studio and you paid.
And you had a label.
And you had a label. And that was the only way that you could get your music distributed. Whereas the time we live in today, with the advent of SoundCloud and Spotify and all these things, even like with this podcast, like I don't need anybody else but me to be able to produce something creators are starting to find each other, which I think is really beautiful. Yes, there's freedom that we didn't have before.
That's right.
You know?
It's beautiful. It's wonderful.
It really, really is. So what would you say are some of your biggest challenges that you face right now as a creative? Like, what would you say are some of the biggest things that you're struggling with or overcoming, I should say?
Number one, and this has always been financially. That's the toughest thing, because if you're not working a 9 to 5 and you're out here dream chasing, boy, it's hard out here in the city. It is tough. So, you know, I mean, right now I've been blessed with a situation where I'm working 3 days a week. And then the rest of the time is being dedicated to my music and my daughter. So that's wonderful, but it's been quite some time since I even had that. So that's been tough, because I did go through the 9 to 5, 40 hours a week situation, and I could only do it for 3 years. It just ain't me. I'm sorry. I can't argue with you about me being 5 minutes late. It's not in my nature. I'm going to be late. It's going to be 5 minutes on me. And if we're in a meeting for the fifth time, I'm sorry. So I can only do it for 3 years. So that's one of my challenges is trying to be financially okay. I don't need to be balling. I don't need to be shopping every 2 weeks, but I just need to be okay. So it's hard for artists and creatives, and that is my biggest struggle.
Yeah.
The second struggle is getting in my own way. I think that as creatives and as artists, we're often so critical of ourselves. So as I'm creating this sound of mine, and I get, like I mentioned before, I get tracks in, but sometimes I don't attack the track because I'm overly critical. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't really sound like my vibe. Instead of like maybe sticking it out and then trying to maybe create my vibe on that and like make it work in a sense. I guess I just would say I need to push myself more at times to and not be the one that's holding up my progress.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's real. That's real. And I think those two, challenges that you're overcoming, because I am no longer claiming struggle, that you're overcoming are very common for practically every creative that I know. And myself included, is that there are those of us, because I'm like you, I tried the plantation. I mean, I'm sorry, the 9 to 5.
No, you said it right the first time.
I tried the plantation, and I tried it for a very long time. And I tried various different plantations over, the course of like 15, 20 years. And I discovered the same thing that, I never had an issue necessarily with time, because I'm kind of like a warrior when it comes to time, because it's the only thing that we don't get more of. And so I realized that my biggest challenge was really from like an operational standpoint. Like, do I really need to be in this building for 8 hours to be able to do this job? Because I'm quite certain that 75% of what I'm doing is being done either over the phone or on a computer. And last I checked, the internet is everywhere. So why do I need to be in this building? So
because
for me,
you need to be watched.
Exactly.
Because they need to watch you so that they can make sure that you're being productive. Well, wait a minute. I'm grown, and you should trust me, man, because when I do this job, I'm going to give you 150%. Like, I'm going to give it up to you. I'm going to make sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. And that's going to be extra time. So, we can nitpick, but I don't really need to be watched. I'm an independent worker.
Exactly.
See, they don't understand that. They got to look at you all day.
Well, and the interesting thing is I've gone through a couple different types of like trainings and coachings and seminars and read a bajillion books and all these kind of things about what a real wealthy minded person looks like and how they operate. And believe it or not, the practice of micromanaging, which is essentially what we're describing here, is coming from a very broke and scarce driven mindset, because reality says that I can be paid for my results, not for my time. If you want XYZ project completed by XYZ date, whether I do it the night before or 4 days early, as long as you get it done by that date, leave me alone. I got it. I don't need you on my shoulders. I got this. And because I know that, the result is what they're really looking for. So when it comes to creative work, it's like, if you need a song or a track completed by XYZ date, I'm going to handle it. But what can be difficult for creatives is, what I find in speaking to a couple of different creatives, even just in the past couple of weeks, is the accountability piece, is the piece that says, okay, Aerin, so where are we on this track? And how are we doing today? And did you put in your XYZ hours this week? And I think that's what is so important about surrounding yourself with other creatives that have strengths in different areas. I know I'm a creative. I also have strengths when it comes to organization and scheduling and planning. And those are things that I do well. So what I find, you know what I'm saying? What I find is when I get to work with other creatives that are like, you know, those of you who are singers and songwriters that are out in the ethers, just hearing a bird chirp and it turns into a melody. I don't have that skill. But I can make sure you're on time. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying?
Exactly.
I can
run that schedule.
I can run that schedule. I can set up your website, you know? So I think that finding each other and collaborating is really important. So my next question for you is, have you found it easy to collaborate with other artists, or have you found it challenging, or what does that look like for you so far?
You know what? I found it super easy to collaborate with other people. I think that speaks to my personality. I'm very much so. I mean, I was all around cool in high school, so it was like, you know, I'm that girl that's like coming in the room, introducing myself, having a full conversation with a stranger. So I think that when it comes to connecting with other artists, even when people are hesitant, you know, when their personality is a little bit more closed than mine, I eventually am going to win that person over. So I really don't have challenges with that. It's just about me putting myself out there, which you know, it was funny. Me and my best friend were just talking about how, as artists, you know, you can't be like a hermit. You have to be, you have to put yourself in places with other creative people. So that does mean that you have to go out more. It means that you have to make a point to go out and connect with other creative energies. So, you know, we've all gotten to the place where we're like, we're over it going out. But I was just talking with my bestie about this. I'm like, you know, we've got to try and at least hit up a few of these networking events, because it's not, you know, we all know this and it's cliche, but it's not, you know, what you know is who you know in this business and in all businesses.
Right. So, right. And not only that, too, is that I think that going out for the purpose of networking and connecting, it looks a lot different than like going out to go out. You know, like even like the, you know, the friends I was mentioning earlier, like they do this little thing and it's just at somebody's home once a month. And it's like Creative Thursday is what they call it. And folks bring their instruments, they bring their beats, they bring whatever. And it's really just more like a jam session. It's a powwow. Exactly. But what happens in spaces like that, energetically speaking, is that those little creative lights start to go off and little ideas start to pop off, and people leave spaces like that and they go back to their little cave or their laboratory or their studio, and they create like some amazing stuff, and they're inspired. Because what happens is that when we go inside and we stay inside and we become isolated, we're recycling that energy, and it doesn't go anywhere. Like we need some newness. We need some fresh air to breathe onto it. And I think that's the case for any creatives, whether you're a photographer. If you just keep taking pictures of the same block, you're going to lose your inspiration. Eventually you got to go turn left or turn right and end up somewhere else. For a writer,
and we feed off of each other.
We do. You know? We feed off of each other.
It's important you get around others that are creative, because our energy feeds off of other energy, man. And you get an idea off of something someone said. I can't tell you how many songs I've written because of what someone else was telling me.
Yes.
Because it's like, wow, I haven't been there, but I can feel for that situation. And wow, look what she was saying. You know, I've made whole songs about that. And you know, it's important. It's just important. So I know I have to do a better job of getting out and about, because I'm like, a club, what?
Right. And if you think about it, you know, with this, I think that there's like a movement, you know, happening right now in the creative world as far as independence and freedom is concerned, because I think that every musician, even including like Seth, my son, like even including him, like the projects that he's working on, and he's getting ready to do something with Complex, and they're working on this and working on that. And even with their mentality of like, no, we want to do it. We want to do it. We want to produce our beats. We want to write our songs. We want to, because there's no shortage of artists that are very qualified and very skilled. Yes. And I think that sometimes what happens is that you get to a point financially where you're like, I would like a sign-in bonus though, would be nice. I wouldn't be mad if somebody else wanted to pay for the video. I'd be cool with that.
For real.
But at what cost? You know what I mean? And I think that's where, that's where the creative, I think that's where that crossroads happened where, back in the day, that was the only way that you could get made. Was if you sold yourself to an extent to a label. Whereas now I think because there is enough momentum on an independent level that we can do our own thing. Like a couple years ago, actually more than a couple, in 2011, when I was staying with one of my grandmothers and was kind of, in a hard time. And as they say, like when your back's against the wall, you can't do nothing but go forward because you're back, you can't do anything at that point. And sometimes
nothing but up.
Nothing but up. And sometimes that's when your most creative ideas come from because you're like, I ain't got shit to lose. So let me just try this. So what I did is I started producing, I only did 2, but I started producing these artist showcases and I found venues in LA and this was before Instagram was real hot. I found artists through friends, families, Facebook, and I booked 2 different showcases and I had 8 artists a piece and they came and they each did a little set. I had singers, songwriters, dancers, rappers, and that was like, and I stopped doing it because I got a 9-to-5.
Right.
So I was just thinking about that last night. It was like, I think it's time to start doing that again. And even just in the conversation, I'm looking around the room. I'm like, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artists right here that I know. And I think that creating spaces like that where we can build our own stages, so to speak, and we can do our own open mics and our own festivals and make it so that it's profitable so that when Aerin needs studio time and, Alpha has a studio and Loren is a guitarist and Seth is a rapper. Like, why can't we just collaborate and do this stuff together?
Oh, there's no reason why we can't. There's no reason why we can't.
Exactly. So I feel like something's brewing. I want to know for you, what does success mean to you and how will you know when you've reached it?
Okay, good question.
Okay.
This feeling of joy that I would feel fulfilled. Because right now, I have joy. I have a lot of joy right now already. I wouldn't have this feeling of I've got to get there. I've got to get there. I feel like the feeling of success would be that I have arrived. It would be a joyous feeling. So just less of the struggle and the I'm going to get and I'm going to get and I'm going to get, and more of the feeling of I'm here. So I don't know what's going to give me that. I don't know if when I release this project that's been 17 years in the making.
Hey, bottles of wine that are 17 years old are supposed to be pretty fantastic. So it sounds like it's just been fermenting.
It's been brewing, bro. It's been brewing. No, I believe it. That's exactly the case. I think that, that feeling may come when I finally do release the project. That's what I'm in search for. I used to be in search of money, but I'm not anymore. I mean, I spoke about wanting to be financially okay, but that's it. I don't want to be rich anymore. I'm good. Like, honestly, if money comes, that's going to be nice, but that's no longer my goal. I'm seeking the feeling of joy and I'm seeking the feeling of freedom.
I think that, or I believe, I should say, that once you reach that point, or that, because I think success is more of a journey. Like, I think we reach different plateaus where we're like, okay, cool. Now I'm financially comfortable. Okay. Now I can maybe take care of my parents. Okay. Now I can travel. Now I can do this. I can do that. And as we, as we grow, as we become more and more successful, as we expand, the money just comes. Like, that's what I know for sure is like when we stop focusing on the dollar and focus on just creating and focus on being committed to our craft and focus on, like you said, mastering our craft, that it naturally comes, because it's a mindset thing, you know? And I think that you're right, that there's a time in our lives where we're like, damn, if I could just get this money, I'd be so good. But then the truth is that we had money. We had regular ass jobs and it paid us money.
And it paid
but
us,
we
but
might
it
not have
wasn't
been
right.
It wasn't right. We weren't fulfilled. I like how you said that we weren't fulfilled. And I think it's important that as creatives that we recognize that we don't have to sacrifice one for the other.
That's
true.
That's
and we can be both financially free and creatively free. We actually can do both of those things. And I think it's just a matter of, you know, spending time with ourselves to figure out what that looks like. And you said something earlier about one of your greatest challenges being like hard on yourself or like your own worst critic. And I think that we all do that, you know, and I think that really comes from a place of fear, you know, of what is it going to look like on the other side. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I don't remember the person who said it, but because I don't good with quotes, I just be remembering things. Like, I don't know who you are, but it was good. I'm going to say it now. But they were basically talking about how sometimes as creatives, we actually are afraid, so to speak, of reaching a certain level of success because we don't want to lose our creativity. You know, and I think it's because there is still that business, that industry element that in a lot of ways taints the creative element of art that says, well, in order to get on XYZ status, you know, you're going to have to do this, 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 and you have to change your music, you have to change your style and da, 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 da. And so subconsciously we're like, well, I don't want to have to change. I want to be myself. So we don't let ourselves get there. So we don't push ourselves out of the comfort zone. So it happens on a subconscious level. And that's why I think it's important for us to know that we can be creatively free and financially free, that we do not have to sacrifice one for the other, so that we can have that freedom. That's like, mom, dad, y'all cool. Y'all have to work no more. Grandma, we good. Don't worry about it. And I still get to be true to my art, and I still get to make mystical music, and I don't have to be mystical, creative, and joyful songs. And I can do all of that, and we can still be okay. You know what I mean?
Right. We can still be okay. And, you know, that's all my goal is now. Like I said, it used to be a material thing because I'm, you know, my nickname was Add to Cart. So it's just, you know, it's all bad. But, you know, I just feel changed. You know, I mean, God has changed me, and, you know, he's humbled me to the point where, you know, if I would have got it 17 years ago, or when I started, when things were booming, I mean, I say this and I believe this, but it really wouldn't mean what it would mean to me now, you know? So, it's just a matter of patience. That's another thing with this, with all of this, like, you know, it's not going to happen when we want it to happen, because we are dealing with God, and he has a different timeline for all of these things in our lives. But he absolutely wants to give us everything that we desire, especially the things that we've opened our mouth and asked for. So, you know, it's just a matter of faith, actually. You know, I found in all my years of pursuing this dream of mine, it's still as strong as it was the very first day, because I have the faith. Like, I don't care if it takes me another 17 years. But whatever it is, when it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a game changer. And I know that in the heart of my heart. So for me, yes, time is precious, and it is of the essence, but we're not operating on our own time. So for that, I have patience, because I know that it's coming. And when it comes, it's going to exceed my expectations, and it's going to exceed everyone else's expectations too. So all I have to do is do my due diligence and continue to just hone my craft. Every chance I get, every time I think about it, do something that's going to take me just a little bit closer. And I just really feel like the success comes after all these small little victories.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I just did some backgrounds on a Jennifer Hudson song, and it's called "I'll Fight." And it was wonderful, last minute call. You know how the music industry is. Hey, can you come tonight? I'm like, yeah. I get there. And you wouldn't think I would be so excited because it's just backgrounds, and I'm not the singer. I'm not the superstar. But for me, that small victory is huge in my timeline. It's huge for me because guess what? It shows you that I'm good at what I do.
Right.
It shows people that, hey, damn it, she's good enough. She's backing them up. So she's good enough to be in the front. It's my own, 15 feet from stardom story. And I'm cool with that. Yes. Honestly, whatever God wants to do, it's a blessing. It's a light. It's a star that I get to add to my crown. And I'm happy about it. I'm telling people to go out. The movie is called RBG. It's about the Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh, wow.
And the song is the movie's top line song. So, so I'm going, it's a great movie. Everyone should go see it. But I'm excited because guess what? I'm working and I'm happy and and it's a blessing. And so what? I'm not the lead artist. So friggin' what, man? I backed Jennifer Hudson up. I backed her up good too, Jack.
I know you did. I know you did. I
lifted her up, girl. I got you, girl.
I got you, girl. I mean, hey, we all need a backup. Shoot, I need a backup every once in a while to lift me up.
I need one myself.
Trust. And I love that. And, you said something really powerful, which is, it puts another star in your crown, because the reality is like, I think of a crown and a tiara is made up of many different teeny tiny stones. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody wearing a tiara with just one big ass stone on it. I don't know that would even be fashionable, but you know what I mean? Or if you could even hold it up. So it's like when you think of, success, or you think of what it looks like to make it, so to speak, and whatever your field is, or whatever your talent or your art is, it's a bunch of little micro wins, and we have to celebrate those milestones. That's why they call them milestones. It's like a stone each mile. It's a celebration each mile. It's a celebration each step. That's what makes up the bigger picture, because it's good to have the big goal. That's what we have to have, like the ultimate. Well, this is how I know when I get there, then I've done something really big. Right. Now I'm not finished by any means, but I know that I've done something really big. But to celebrate everything along the way is powerful, because the truth is, I ain't never sung back up for anybody. Do you know what I'm saying? I sing in the back of the room. But you know what I'm saying? But
you were singing so low,
I was singing so low that nobody could hear me, girl. Because we all have our gifts. We all have our special gifts. You know what I mean? Right. But I think it's important to celebrate that, because the truth is that you said something earlier about our timing versus, God's timing. And I know that there's a phrase that I've heard a lot my whole life, which is, God is only going to give you what you can handle. And a lot of times when I would hear that, it was typically in like, God, you only gonna struggle so much. It's gonna be okay. Like, I won't give you more than you can handle, meaning from a struggle standpoint. But then I started to look at that a little bit deeper and recognize that it also means God is only going to give you what you can contain, what you can handle, meaning not more in a good way even than what you can handle. So when we look back and say, well, damn, if I had gotten XYZ fame or fortune or whatever when I was 17, 18 years old, would it mean what it means to me now in my 30s? And would I be able to handle it when I was 17 or 18 years old? And probably not, which is why it didn't show up then. So when you know what I mean? So when you think about these micro wins and these milestones, it's like, where I am right now, I can handle singing backup for Jennifer Hudson. Yes, I can. I surely can. And I may not have been able to handle that 15 years ago, but I can handle it today. And I can handle being a solo artist. I can handle, releasing an LP. I can handle being on stages. I can handle that. And the more that you recognize what you can handle, that's when it starts to show up.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And, with age came wisdom.
Yes.
And back then it would be like, I ain't singing no Jennifer Hudson backgrounds. No, I'm the star. Whereas now I left that session and the very next night I was in the studio recording for my own self.
Yes.
Because that's where I'm at with it today. It's not about J Hud and really it's not about me anymore. So what it is about is me doing what I love on a daily basis.
Yes.
Me doing what I love and not going too long without putting some time in on my craft and what the gifts I've been blessed with. So
I love it.
That's all that I'm aiming out to do. If success comes from what I'm doing, wonderful. If checks come from what I'm doing, absolutely amazing. But that is no longer my focus. All I want to do and all I want to have is whatever God feels that I can handle.
I love it.
So you're absolutely right about that, but I'm in a place where, I just got here with that. So that's been a long, long journey, to even say that, because for a long time, I didn't even do my music because of frustrations about money and not being paid and, doing backgrounds and, not being them putting my name on it or, it's so much stuff that goes on with the grimy people in the business. But, thank God it just didn't take me out for long.
Yeah.
Because that's when you can lose yourself. And I'm just grateful that Lord God said, hey, you know what, just do you, because I'm going to make sure you're okay. And I'm going to just give you whatever you want, which is to do what I want to do. So
I love
that's
it.
where I'm at.
I love it. I love it. Well, I have one last question for you before we wrap up. If you could sit down with your 20-year-old self, what would you say?
Whoa. Okay. Give me a second.
Take your time.
Think about that.
Take your time.
I would say to myself, watch people around you. Your intentions are pure, but theirs aren't always as pure as yours. Speak up for yourself. You know what you bring to this world and to this industry. So don't be afraid, Aerin, to speak up for yourself and your worth, because you deserve it. And you're the one who's going to put the work in. You're the one who's going to spend the long hours. So speak up for yourself from the very first meeting. And that's how I would move forward. That's what I would say to me.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Thank you for sharing that. Well, we are going to wrap this up, but before we go, I want to give you the chance to share with people anywhere that they can find your music, where they can listen to you, and your how to get in touch with you.
Okay. So I am in the process of getting my album together, and I will release that on SoundCloud, but I don't have it yet. But you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Air, and that's AER .in.HEAD. So that's air.in.head on Instagram. In addition to that, go see RBG the movie. I'm singing background for Jennifer Hudson's song "I'll Fight." Check out Life Jennings' song, as old as it is. It's an oldie but a goodie. It's called Hypothetically, featuring Aerin. My goodness. I'm waiting to give people my new music. So I'll have to come on again with you, Keisean, when the album is done, because I can't wait to share it. And I'm really close. I'm not gonna put out many songs. I'm just trying to give people 4 good, amazing, mind-blowing jams, and it's gonna be on and it's cracking.
Love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for your time and for your words and for your inspiration. And I will definitely have you back on. And in the meantime, I'm going to make sure that I connect you with this this growing collective of independent artists called Creatives First. And and we got something brewing as well. I'm putting together something going to be cracking before the end of this year. So a space for y'all to showcase your talent and make some shit happen. So yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
All right.
Anytime, cuz. Thank you for having me on. I love it.
I love
Keep
you.
doing what you're doing too.
I will. I'm just moving and grooving. So
I know that's right.
Yeah.
I know that's right.
All right, cuz I love you. We'll talk soon.
Okay, love you too. Talk soon.
Okay.
Right, bye.
Thank you, cuz. Oh my goodness, that was such a dope conversation. I appreciate your candid expression. I appreciate your honesty, your authenticity. Thank you for sharing with the listeners just a little bit of what your journey as an artist has been. I know that by you opening up and sharing your story with others, it is going to serve as a source of inspiration, a source of motivation, and a source of hope for those who are out there really at the beginning stages of their journey as an artist. You have had the privilege of working with some of the biggest names in the industry back in the day and present day, and I know that nothing but good is coming in your direction, and I'm just grateful to be a compassionate witness, to be able to say, I know her, that's my cousin, and she is dope. So I appreciate everyone for listening. If you have not already, please click on the links that are in the episode notes. You can listen to more of Aerin on SoundCloud. You can also listen to some of her older tracks on Spotify, and stay tuned for what's coming next, because I know whatever it is going to be amazing. So don't miss out. Peace, y'all.
I wasn't looking, no, when you came my way. It wasn't sunny or nothing, it was rainy days. When you came in, ooh, I swear you changed. Everything that I knew has been rearranged. Ooh, tell me where you come from. I never knew that love could find me here. You're not just anyone. Heaven must have heard me down here. Oh, think you done me right. Feel like a million days and about a million nights. When you ain't looking for it, love ain't hard to find. Oh, when love come to you, it come right on time.
It's time to wrap this up, and I just want to say very sincerely thank you. You have your choice of thousands of different podcasts that you could be listening to each day, and I appreciate you for choosing this to be one of them. Right now, in this moment, I see the light, I see the love, the wisdom, the beauty, the prosperity, the creativity, and the pure joy that shines within each of you, and I bow humbly before your divinity. Namaste.